far as being an online activist, you can reach the most people that way.
Mm-hmm.
You have the potential, depending on how you do it, to reach the most people. But as far as fulfilling, I don't like to call our events protests. I'd rather call them outreach just because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have one-on-one on the street conversations with people. I'll give an example. Ace went to Dave's Hot Chicken in Eugene, Oregon to do an outreach, and we had our signs that had pictures of chickens that said friends not food, and we had leaflets, information to pass out to people. And the manager came out and said, "Oh, you guys are protesting us, huh?" And I said, I'm not stupid. I know I'm not going to put you out of business. And that's really not what I'm here for. What I'm here for is to talk to people about more compassionate options to what to eat instead of these poor chickens. And he didn't really know what to say about that because it probably was a different angle he wasn't used to. And he went back inside, and shortly after that, there was 3 young college students, because it's right next to the University of Oregon College.
Welcome to the Better Life for Animals podcast, where we amplify the voices of animal advocates, sanctuaries, and changemakers working toward a kinder, more compassionate world. Through powerful stories and expert insights, we shine a light on the efforts to rescue, protect, and advocate for animals. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Every follower helps us reach more people. And support animal sanctuaries. Enjoy the conversation.
Today's guest is a tireless animal advocate whose journey from personal transformation to public activism is both inspiring and deeply rooted in compassion. Brent Ratkovich went vegan in 2013, initially for health reasons, but it was a powerful documentary, Meet Your Meat, that truly opened his eyes to the suffering of animals. That moment sparked a lasting commitment to be a voice for the voiceless. Within a year, Brent became active in street-level advocacy, joining protests with Mercy for Animals and speaking out against animal cruelty. In 2015, he founded One Cow Army, a solo campaign that has since grown into a recognizable presence in the animal rights community. From large-scale hen rescues and caregiving at Animal Place Sanctuary to co-founding the Sacramento Animal Save chapter, Brent has consistently taken action where it matters most. His work with vegan outreach, both in person and through food aid programs during the pandemic, underscores his belief that activism is about showing up again and again for those who can't speak for themselves. Now based in Eugene, Oregon, Brent continues to volunteer with local sanctuaries and remains a visible force for change. He also founded ACE, Animal Compassion Eugene, organizing protests and outreach across the country. Through the group is actually on pause, but Brent's commitment has never waned, and he's hopeful that the upcoming Eugene Vegan Fest will spark new energy and community activism. Welcome to the show, Brent. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Brent, you started veganism for your health, but that PETA video stayed with you. How did your motivation evolve as you became more involved in activism?
Well, it stuck with me, and whether I would have been gone vegan for my health or not, I think that seed would have germinated eventually. And so it was just a matter of me seeing that online that there was a local, Mercy for Animals protest happening at one of the Safeways, and that when it was in their program where they were protesting Tyson chicken.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I decided to join, and I just got the bug, just to be able to be with people and have the same mindset, and just to be that extra person in that huge line of people as the cars go by. It just really made me feel like this was home. This was where I needed to be.
Excellent. I also enjoy working with Mercy for Animals. They do such great work. And I love
Yeah.
how you're able to go out there and be an advocate. I think that sometimes some people would say that takes a lot of courage, but we both know that we're standing up for what we see, which is nothing in comparison. I love this idea of one cow army. It's such a striking concept. What inspired you to start it, and how has solo activism helped you stay connected?
Uh, well, what started was it was during Halloween 2015, and we were just looking at one of the spirit stores, and I saw this cow mask, and I just thought, oh, this would be really cool to do protests with, to do outreach with. And it's basically was just a gimmick that I started because unfortunately, we're also used to seeing the unhoused on the streets with signs and stuff like that, and a lot of us have just grown completely cynical to it and don't even really pay attention to people on the streets anymore. And so, if I wanted to draw attention to my sign and the animals cause um, fighting for the animals, then I needed something to grab people's attention. So I got this mask and I used huge lettering on signs, tried to get to the point as easily as possible with little letters as possible, just so that people can see them from their cars. And I
Mm.
just stood out in front of like a McDonald's near my home at one point, and it was around Halloween. And it's just I laugh about it now because it's like McDonald's, like nobody cares, you know. It's like, dude, there's so many McDonald's out, you know. But I had to start somewhere, and then I started standing in front of like In-N-Out Burger in Sacramento and all these different chains. And it's just for me, it's a matter of if nobody's there, nothing's going to happen. There's no seeds that are going to be planted. And yes, I get a lot of jeers and I get a lot of people yelling stuff at me, but there are some people that honk their horn too in support. And I kind of go by the thought process of street activism as if you plant a seed, you never know what can happen. You know, if you don't have somebody there with a sign or with a cause to show people, hey, there's a different way to think about this. Because if it pulls someone out of the matrix just for a few seconds and it plants a seed, then I could get all the jeers and all the honks and the FUs that I can, which I get a lot. But if I get one little kid looking out his parents' window and reading my sign, and that becomes a memory of this weird cow on the street, then that might spark something and that might cause change. And so I love my group that I put together. But when it started kind of falling apart, I just realized, I can still get out there myself and do solo work. So,
I love that you just didn't give up. That's
yeah.
such courage. Good for you. So, I know we this can sometimes be a lonely experience, and I love the fact that your wife joined you in this vegan journey. Can you tell us how that was for both of you?
Yeah, well, I watched Meet Your Meat and I flipped out. It was traumatic, and that that night, my wife got home with my son, and I said, "That's it, we're going vegetarian." And we had no plan whatsoever. We had no recipes. We didn't know what we were doing, and it probably was like about a week and a half of that, and we went right back to eating animal products. But that seed was germinating in my head from that video, and but I was in the process of a 10-year battle with trying to get my cholesterol down because I have a predisposition for really high cholesterol genetically. And I was in this battle trying to get it down any way possible. And I just one day I realized I need to just stop putting cholesterol into my body because my body already makes too much. So I decided, I read this book called The Engine 2 Diet with Rip Esselstyn, Caldwell Esselstyn's son, and I just decided I need to just stop completely. So I went vegan in one day, and I started emptying our pantry of any animal products. I gave our neighbors like three huge grocery bags full of animal products and just said, here, free groceries for the week. And my wife came home and she was just absolutely mortified. But it took her about another year to make the full transition. I was home at the time, so I was making all of our meals. So they were all vegan meals. And that was really successful for the family, but my wife would go home and there would be stuff at work, candies that she works in a private practice, skin cancer facility. And so when we were in Sacramento, and patients would bring pastries and candy and stuff, and there'd be all. So she had a hard time giving up the dairy stuff. So, but we went. She found actually for my birthday. My birthday is in November. She found for my birthday Animal Place Farm
Hmm.
Sanctuary and found out that they were doing a feed the turkeys event that they do every year, and the people, volunteers or visitors, feed the turkeys these little pumpkin pates and just celebrate turkeys. And so we went there and bought the tickets, went there, had a great time. We brought our young son; he was about 10 at the time, and that's where my wife was just petting the turkeys, and it just clicked. She was just like, I can't ever do this to any more animals. I'll never eat animals again. I'll never eat animal products again. And so it took about a year, but finally got there. And then with our son, we didn't want him to rebel against us. So we were like, when you're home, you're going to eat vegan. If you go spend the night at a friend's house, whatever you have is what you have. And we didn't push it. And he finally came around to us. And so he's been vegan about 10 years himself. So,
There's so much in there. I love the fact that once again, it's that seed that's planted. It's the seed that's
yeah.
planted in all of us. It's not a perfect, straight line in many cases, and
Right.
that's okay. But once you get that little bit of nudge, you just keep working toward it. And I also love how you worked with your son. It's like this is going to be your life.
Hmm.
And, we have rules here. However, you're going to get out into the big world and you're going to do what you're going to do. And how wonderful that he was able to come to it on his own. So
Yeah.
there's so much wisdom in what you've just shared with us there. Was that your first sanctuary experience?
Yes, it was. And shortly after that, my wife and I started volunteering there about once a month, cleaning barns, picking up poo, helping with however we could with the interns and the caregivers. And yeah, it was extremely satisfying. And then during that first year, which was 2015, in September, that's when we went on our first large scale rescue, rescued 500 layer hens from a small organic egg farm. And
Mm.
that's probably a podcast all in itself because Animal Place learned a valuable lesson about organic egg farms, and that is that they cannot vaccinate their chickens. They cannot give them any medications if they're sick to hold their organic status. And so every one of these chickens, 500 that we rescued, were extremely ill with, I don't remember exactly, there's many different respiratory illnesses that birds get, but I don't remember which one it was, but they were basically just on death's door. And it was a matter of time for them all to succumb to this, unfortunately. And Animal Place had a very generous donor come up with an idea to house all of these chickens in a separate place away from all the other animals on their sanctuary. And every day we would go over in full hazmat suits and clean the area that they were in. And unfortunately, every time we would go over there, we would have to remove 3 or 4 dead birds. And so it was kind of traumatic, but it was a big lesson for the sanctuary to unfortunately not be able to rescue at organic farms.
Oh, people don't understand when they hear these
Mhm.
marketing, organic, humanely raised,
Yeah.
you know, free range. Those things really they're not really helping the animals. And I'm sorry
No,
that
it's
you
a
have to
humane
see that.
hoax.
Yeah, it's a humane hoax. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that we could talk about that for a full podcast. I think that would be
Yeah.
completely worth our time
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
something that people really need to hear. I think so often maybe someone says, okay, I won't eat meat anymore, but they're still eating
Mhm.
eggs and those
Yeah.
animals suffer terribly. So
Yeah.
I really respect anybody who's put himself in the position to go in there and see it firsthand because then you can report it back and explain to us all that this is just not, there's nothing humane about this and it's
Yeah.
completely unnecessary. As you said yourself, for somebody who makes too much cholesterol, you don't need to be adding
Yeah.
this kind of pain and suffering into your diet.
Yeah.
So, do you think that would you recommend that more people work hands-on like this? Because it seems like it really enhances one's connection and understands the responsibility that we humans hold.
Oh, that's absolutely true. That is the magic of farmed sanctuaries. And I try to say farmed
Mm-hmm.
instead of farm because no animal on the planet's natural habitat is a farm.
No.
And so these are farmed animals. So it's just a pet peeve of mine. But yeah, they're magical places. They really are, for a number of different reasons. I mean, they are the perfect ambassadors for their billions and billions of enslaved cousins
Mm-hmm.
that that are in the industry. And anytime a intern, a volunteer, a caregiver, a visitor to the sanctuary has hands-on experience with these animals, just seeing them in their new caregiving habitat where they are no longer in fear, they can have their most natural behavior come out. And that is where people are able to see their individuality, see their affection, see their intelligence. And it is a transformative experience for anyone who's involved in that. And that was a huge leap for our family, is to get involved with sanctuaries right in the beginning, because as you know, many people that go vegan, they stop being vegan after a while. But to have that kind of just being infused with that experience right away. That's why I always tell people, if you first go vegan, try to find a sanctuary in your area, try to volunteer, try to have that life-changing experience with these animals, to realize that they're individuals, that they have every right to be on this planet with us, not for us. And it's just a wonderful way to start off your vegan journey.
You're listening to Better Life for Animals podcast. Our mission is to amplify the voices of animal advocates, sanctuaries, and changemakers working toward a kinder, more compassionate world. But we can't do it alone. We need your help. First of all, go ahead and subscribe to this channel wherever you're watching or listening. And then get involved by visiting betterlifeforanimals.com. That's betterlifeforanimals.com. Be sure to check out our blog, learn more about incredible sanctuaries, and explore our book section, where 100% of net proceeds from book sales are donated to sanctuaries. Every action you take helps to make a difference. And remember, subscribe to this channel. And now, back to the show.
If you're just joining us, this is Better Life for Animals, and we're speaking with Brent Ratkovich. Brent, you've done protest, vigils, leafleting, and even organized your own group. What form of activism has felt most effective or most fulfilling for you?
I would, there's probably a couple. I don't, this one's not as fulfilling, but as far as being an online activist, you can reach the most people that
Mm-hmm.
way. You have the potential, depending on how you do it, to reach the most people. But as far as fulfilling, I don't like to call our events protests. I'd rather call them outreach, just because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have one-on-one on the street conversations with people. I'll give an example. Ace went to Dave's Hot Chicken in Eugene, Oregon, to do an outreach, and we had our signs that had pictures of chickens that said "Friends, not food," and we had leaflets, information to pass out to people. And the manager came out and said, "Oh, you guys are protesting us, huh?" And I said, I'm not stupid. I know I'm not going to put you out of business. And that's really not what I'm here for. What I'm here for is to talk to people about more compassionate options to what to eat instead of these poor chickens. Um, And he didn't really know what to say about that, because it probably was a different angle he wasn't used to. And he went back inside, and shortly after that, there was three young college students, because it's right next to the University of Oregon College. Um, right shortly after that, there was three young college students that were crossing the street, and they saw our signs. They went in, and about 2 minutes later, they came out, and they came right up to me and said, we were going to eat there, but we saw your sign, and we just wanted to ask you questions about why you're out here. And I had about a 20-minute conversation with the three of them, asking them, if they can consider eating a plant-based diet. And they, obviously in most of those situations, you don't have somebody coming full, right up to you and saying, "Oh yeah, I'm done. I'm not going to eat animals anymore." But I gave them information. They thanked me. They walked away, and they never ate at that establishment that day. And so that you can do, in my opinion, you can do 20 outreach events and not have a situation like that. And then you have one where you talk to three people for 20 minutes. And that, to me, that's worth it. That's worth all those times being out there where you don't think that you're impacting anyone, but you are. You really are. You don't think you're planting seeds, but you are.
Absolutely. The vegan food aid program also sounds very powerful. How do you blend food justice with animal advocacy, and what reactions do you get from the families that you've helped?
Well, that was kind of for vegan outreach. When the pandemic hit, they were very gracious and very dedicated to trying to make sure that all their employees still had jobs, because my job basically ended going out to colleges and signing people up for 10 weeks to vegan. So they found a very generous donor that was going to do this vegan food aid program, and feeding all these people that were either affected by the pandemic or um, just not doing well in general. And there was a lot of families, a lot of Mexican families. And so there was a little bit of a language barrier, but most of the time I did not speak to them because I would drop off the groceries like on their front porch. But we would drop off like, leaflets that were written in Spanish. And I enjoyed doing that, but it wasn't really what I feel like I was most satisfied in doing, is to talking to people about animal rights. But it was kind of like a placeholder for a little while, for what I was doing before I moved up here. But
Okay.
it was an absolutely wonderful program. I don't want to speak ill of it. It just wasn't really where I wanted my focus to be.
Well, everybody has to find their space.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Do you think that there's a disconnect between personal veganism and active advocacy?
Well, I'm one of those people that kind of believes that veganism is a baseline. I think that everyone should be eating plant-based if possible, and if they are, then I still believe that they should try to do a little bit more, do something for the animals. I guess that's what you're asking. I'm not sure if I'm answering that correctly, but
No, I hear you. I feel the same way. At the
yeah.
very beginning, for a number of years, I was quite satisfied just to be vegan on my own and, not contributing. But
Mhm.
over time, I came to see that there's just so much to do and so few of us who are doing it. In the meantime, all these animals are suffering, so you can't do too much.
Yeah, but it's a multi-pronged movement,
Hmm.
and so it's kind of tough to draw that line, and I don't want to necessarily draw a harsh line on that, because, like, for instance, my wife, she does not consider herself an activist, and I kind of do consider her an activist, because she goes to work every day, and she makes comments to her coworkers sometimes about, have you seen Dominion? Have you thought about what you're buying? Because I protest the local Chick-fil-A out here with One Cow Army, and her coworkers know that I'm out there, and so they whisper in the background when they're talking about ordering from Chick-fil-A so that Kara can't hear them. And it's like, she knows exactly what's happening, and she doesn't make herself she doesn't she doesn't force confrontation, but at the same time, her presence there and her knowledge of what happens in the animal agriculture industry does break through to some people. And she did get one person to watch Dominion, actually, that she works with. And so I tell her all the time, you're absolutely an activist. You're not getting out on the streets, but that doesn't matter. There's a different audience for every type of activism. And so you have to adjust your activism for that person. If it's for health, if it's for environment, if it's for animals, if it's for all three, So yeah, there is a difference, but as long as you're trying to do something and you're not just silent about it and going, well, whatever happens out of my little bubble is okay. To each his own, but I don't agree with it myself.
Well, your wife is planting the seeds, and that's a form of activism.
Yeah,
yes.
Yes. Exactly.
So what's next for One Cow Army?
Well, about every week I go out and find a place to try to do outreach. As the weather's getting a little bit better, it's still a little cold, but as it gets warmer, I'm going to be going out to the different ice cream parlors in town and passing out leaflets. I print up a leaflet that has all the different alternative dairy and ice cream and cheese, where you can find them in stores, all the different, brands, and just talk to people if I can about it. And so, yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a one-dimensional thing that I do with One Cow Army, but I'm hoping with this Vegan Fest coming up May 4th, we will get more people to sign up to maybe relaunch ACE again. That's probably one of the most frustrating things being an activist is if you do organize something, you do unfortunately run into a situation where there are a lot of people that are vegan that don't want to get active. And I put a high expectation on myself for myself as an activist. And I've had to learn over time that I can't put that expectation on other people. They're only going to be able to show up how they can show up. But at the same time, it's frustrating when you see there's 14 to 1,500 vegans in Eugene on Facebook Vegans page. And so when I started ACE, I thought, oh, I'll be able to get like 20 people to each event, and I struggled to get like 5 or 6, including myself, to each event, and so that can be a little frustrating, but it's not going to ever stop me, so I just have to find a different angle, to do this. And hopefully something like a Vegan Fest in town will energize people to want to go out and do that again.
So let's talk about that some more. Did you say May 4th?
Yes, May 4th at the Lane County Event Center. It's going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning. The tickets are online. It's $10 a person.
Okay. Well, we'd love to promote it. So tell us how they can find those tickets.
This Compassionate Living, I believe it's compassionateliving.org, is Hope's nonprofit. And on that website, you can go to, I believe it's a QR code. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe you can direct your listeners to it because I don't have the info with me right now. Sorry.
No worries. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the Better Life for Animals podcast. Together, we can create a world where all beings are treated with dignity, respect, and care. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. It helps us reach more people and spread awareness about the incredible work happening in animal sanctuaries. You can also share this episode with friends and fellow advocates to keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep speaking up, taking action, and making a difference for the animals.